So welcome, ladies. Business casual. The email went out this morning with our follow-up to the Pinterest strategy. And so if you have not received your emails, again, please let me know because I know some people are still not getting them. Jen, I forgot to forward you what I usually do. Did you get today's?
Okay. Were you sending it to my work one or my personal? Because sometimes I get them in the personal.
Both in there, but we'll figure it out. Let me just
I'll
make
just
a note
check
to
my
myself,
personal.
and I'll go in and double check for you.
Yeah, it doesn't look like I got it.
Okay.
So,
all right.
I'll check my junk thing too. But thanks.
Sounds good. Anyway, so we followed up. We had the last 2 weeks of Pinterest and talking all about strategy, and it's really cool. I'm very excited, especially to apply it to my business and what I'm doing right now. I mean, you guys know I'm Mama Crush and the personal stylist, but really not doing any personal styling right now. And honestly, I have not been active in that at all. I've been focusing on business casual and on my other job, consulting with sales and marketing. And so, but I am already seeing results. I really got down and dirty with it last Thursday on their Pinterest, and I just started daily. I'm just right now manually doing it just because I'm trying to set up the boards and like create pins and see the flow and how, often, and the impressions that I'm in Pinterest have gone like skyrocketed just from doing that. And I'm saying like doing like 2 or 3 new pins a day. I don't think I did it on Sunday, but I've done it yesterday and got to do it today a little later, and it's just been awesome. So it does work. We are getting website clicks. I have not converted anything yet into sales, but we're going to get there. So it was just exciting to see how many more eyes are seeing the brand just because I'm paying a little bit of attention to it. So highly recommend still getting in those notes and diving deep into a strategy. But this week, we're going to talk about what you guys have been requesting, and we're going to have a theme for the next few weeks, and it's called Analyze This, because we're going to get deep into analytics for all of the different social media platforms and the things that you need to be looking at. And so we're going to start this week with Instagram, since I get a lot of questions from y'all, and I mean, besides the vanity metrics, which are like followers and likes, I really wasn't using it. And because I was preparing for this meeting, I started diving deep into my stuff, into my posts, and I'm like, whoa, I had no idea. I mean, I really didn't think people found me through hashtags, and some of my most successful stories and posts, I was shocked at how many, the percentage of people that found me or viewed that post or story just from hashtags. And I was like, what? I mean, I had no idea. So it's been really eye-opening, and I'm really excited to apply some of this knowledge to my Instagram once I start using it again. I mean, you guys know something had to drop, and it was my social media for sure. I have not been on Instagram or Facebook in forever for either of our group or either of my accounts. So but let's talk a little bit about, not a little bit, let's talk a lot about Instagram and the analytics, what you should be looking at and how you can actually use it. Because it's easy to like pop open the insights on there and say, oh, great, I got this many likes or this much, this much reach or impressions, but what does it really all mean? And how should you apply it to grow your Instagram, either both your following and your engagement and conversion, right? Like getting people to where you want to send them. So let's first talk about some of these terms and what they mean. So obviously, you know what a follower is and you know what a like is. And like I said, I call that a vanity metric. And a lot of times what we do with those numbers is we compare, right? We get into that comparison game. Like, well, why does this other woman who's doing the same thing I'm doing, have so many more followers or so many more likes? And so I want you to kind of put that to the side. There are, of course, important things to think about. You want to keep an eye on them because obviously if you're putting time and effort into Instagram, you want it to be growing and you want to get more people engaged. That's our, end goal. And that's not our end goal. I'm sorry. Conversion is our end goal, but that's a big goal. But let's dive deeper into more of those things. So the terms are engagement, impressions, reach, and those are really the big ones. So engagement is how many people took action on your post, right? So engagement would be a like, a comment, a share, a save. And you take all of those things from a single post and you add them up, which Instagram does for you, but you add them up and you divide them by the number of followers that you have. So if I have 100 engagements on one post and I have 1,000 followers, that's a 10% engagement. By the way, that's a really high number. industry standard for like influencers and the women we are talking to and such is like 3%. So, but 3% can mean many different things depending on the number of followers you have. If I have 1,000 followers, 3% is what, 30, 30 engagements. If I have 100,000, it's 30,000. So 3% is just kind of like a benchmark, but don't live or die by that. The higher, the better, obviously. And sometimes it's even cooler if you have a smaller following, but a higher engagement, right? Because you have people that are really and truly engaged with you, getting to know you, liking you, trusting you, and wanting to work with you. So that's why that big follower number is a vanity metric. But the engagement is, like I said, it's how many people are taking action on your posts. Divide that by the number of followers. Instagram does that math for you. You don't have to do it. And I'll show you all of that in just a few minutes. Impressions are how many times that post was viewed. So an impression, if I put a post out and there's 100 impressions, 100 times it was viewed. Now that can be multiple times by somebody. So if someone liked it and they wanted to go back to it and look at it again, or they wanted to, I'm going to read that later or something, then that counts for impressions. So sometimes I'll go back and like watch somebody's stories over and over, right? Like over and over, but like, again, because I missed something or I wanted to see like, what was that they were using, or, where were they? And so that would be impressions. Reach, though, is the actual unique accounts that are looking at that post or story. So that is the individual accounts. And so that makes sense, right? You guys, you're following along. I don't need to explain that further. I think sometimes I explain things a little too much because you guys are smarter than that. You know that. So reach is the unique accounts that are looking. Impressions is the number of times that something has been viewed. When we get into our analytics, I'm going to show you, we're going to kind of deep dive into mine, and I'm going to show you some numbers here. But what we want to be looking for, what you want to be thinking about, instead of just looking at the numbers and saying, oh, cool, that post got a lot of likes, or, oh, cool, there's a ton of impressions from those stories. What do you actually do with it, right? So you want to try to look at the things that are getting the highest reach, the highest impressions, the highest engagement, and then recreate that in your feed. Use that same type of I was gonna say aura, that's not the word, but like use that same type of content or visual, and we'll talk about that more. But because what works, there's no need to recreate the wheel, right? So what works, you want to do the same thing again, and then see if it works again, and see if it works again, etc. So when we read our analytics and we're looking at the number of impressions, views, engagement, all our impressions, reach, engagement, what we want to do is then take those top performers, and you're going to decide, what time frame you're looking at. If you want to just look at the last, week of what you did, or you want to look at the whole entire year. I haven't posted much in the last few months, so I went ahead and looked at my entire year to see, what was working when I was active on Instagram. And you want to look at those posts and then ask yourself, what value did that post bring to someone? Was it educational? Was it informative? Was it entertaining? Was I selling something? Was I featuring a service or a product of someone else's? And start to take like kind of a tally on that. Like look at your top, whatever number you want to look at, but let's look at your top 9 or 10 posts, and then go in and see like what types of posts were they when they pop up on there. And I'll show you when we get to the analytic, when we look into my analytics. But is there a theme, visually? What kind of content is this? So what kind of captions did I use on those particular posts? Were they, what kind of tone of voice did I have? Was I being sarcastic and funny? Was I being really serious? Was I getting deep, and kind of look what was resonating with people that made the engagement so high, or the impression so high, or the reach so high? Like I said, what type of image was it? I think a lot of you will find if you don't post pictures of yourself often in your feed, the times that you do, you get a lot of engagement or a lot of, a reach there, because people are interested and they want to see the face behind the brand and the face behind the business. So, what types of images are they? Are they pictures of you? Are they pictures of you? I think I've told you guys this before. My number one post of all time was me in my underwear. Well, not going to fill my feed with myself in my underwear, but you know, does that mean that just people were like so taken with like how raw it was or how like real life it was and that sort of thing? So you want to start looking at those and see if there's a trend there. What day and time did you post those really popular posts, right? What day of the week is your audience engaging and, you know, liking your stuff? What times? I was kind of surprised. You know, I know I've looked at this before, but when I really dove deep in and started writing down notes from my analytics, my audience, or when I'm not going to say my audience, but well, yeah, my audience, and when I'm getting the most activity is in the afternoons. And in my mind, I was thinking it was like early morning when mom's getting up and, you know, she's like scrolling through real quick before getting the day started, but it's actually in the afternoons. And then again at like 9 p.m. And to me, that makes sense because it's like when all the kids go to bed and they sit down, you know, and get ready to like scroll through. So pay attention to the days and times. What hashtags did you use on those posts? So again, this was a shocking thing to me, is the hashtags, and what a high percentage people found my posts through hashtags. I know the importance of them, right? And I do include them in all of my posts, but I could definitely pay more attention to it. And when I say that, I mean, go through those top 9 or 10 posts. Which hashtags did I use? You know, which ones were resonating? Which one were people searching for? You know, was there something particularly different about a post that you get a lot of traffic from hashtags? Was there a particular hashtags that you were using that you don't usually use? So pay attention to that as well. And then last but not least, what call to action did you have in your post, right? What made people engage with it? Did you ask them to, you know, like this photo? Did you ask them to click on a link? Did you ask them to comment? And obviously comments are engagement. So read through those comments too. You'll be able to go in and look at the posts that created the most comments. Also the stories that created the most replies, like, you know, when people DM you from stories, and go through them and see, like, what were they asking you? What were they saying? The one post with my underwear, people are like, oh, right on. I can't, you know, you look amazing, da, 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 da. So they're all about like the body positivity and being self-accepting. And, you know, maybe I should do more of that. So, because if I want to grow my engagement and my followers, then that's what those numbers are telling me. So those are the things we're going to think about when we get into these numbers. Also, how often are you posting, right? You know, we used to hear crazy numbers, you know, a couple of years ago, like you should be posting 3 times a day. You should be doing all these things. We have found as time goes on, and especially through 2020, that stories have become so popular that the static posts, you may not need to do as many. My plan is to like keep it 3 before I let it all go, but you know, is to keep it at like 3 posts a week, 3 static posts a week, and then do stories every day. So I think just as long as you're showing up on a consistent basis, if you really want Instagram to work for you and you really want followers and people to engage with you, then you do have to set up some sort of consistent strategy as far as time goes and how often you're posting. The last thing I will just touch on before we get into the numbers is stories. I was really excited because I didn't even know that you could get so many analytics off of the stories, right? I always look at like how many people viewed my stories because I find that interesting, but there are so many good numbers in here that you can see, like, when are people are exiting your stories? Like, when are they like, boring, you know, and moving out? When are they, you know, how many times they're commenting to you or DMing you from that story? And there's just so much information about it. And like we said, stories are really where people are on Instagram. You know, posts are important, but stories are where people are. Stories, I know personally, I have not been on social media very much at all over the last couple of months, but I do pop on when I have a minute and look at my friends' stories because they're usually pretty up to date, right? They're only 24 hours live. And so then I know, like, hey, my friends are at Legoland, or my friends are, you know, out to dinner, or, you know, my friend's kid did this funny thing. So it keeps you up to date and in the moment with, you know, what's going on. So stories are extremely important. And I didn't even know that you could get all these cool analytics with them. So let's talk about the actual numbers. And I'm going to try and show you guys, if you need to make my picture bigger, I have like the whole grid set up right now, but if you need to make my picture bigger so that you can see this, I was trying to test it. I brought an extra light in to see if I could show you. Hopefully it's working. Okay. Oh, my friend. Okay. So this is just pulling up Instagram. I'm going to go to my business page, which is the Mama Crush. It's not very clear. Sorry. You don't really need to see the exact numbers. I just want to show you, many of you know the little hamburger up here and you know where to find your insights. Oops. All right. So once you click on that little hamburger, you're going to see a lot of things here, and you go to insights, but you can also just click on the insights button right there in the middle if you have a business account. I should back up and say, if you don't have a business account, but you want to get all of these analytics and numbers, then you should switch over to a business account. Again, yesterday when I'm doing, this like deep dive into my analytics, I'm viewing all this stuff about the Mama Crush, and then I'm like, oh, let me see what's going on with business casual. Guys, I did not even have it set up as a business account. I had it set up as a personal account, and I didn't even realize it. I didn't even know it. And so I have no analytics on business casual and, what we have going on there, but I changed it over yesterday. So hopefully from now on, I'll know. But anyway, we're going to go to insights. And then in the insights, there's 3 tabs. There's content, activity, and audience. Sorry, I keep getting messages from work. So in content, mine is pretty blank because I have not been posting. 17 posts and stories this week. And I'll tell you right now, it's all stories, no posts. And it just kind of gives you an overview of like your activity on here, right? Not activity, your content and what you're posting. In posts, I don't have any static posts, but if I hit see all, this is where you can get really deep into some of the numbers on each individual post. So this will pull up all of my posts, and I can go in then and choose what type of post. I'm going to just keep it at all. You can choose the time frame. So 7 days, 30 days, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. I'm just going to keep it at 1 year right now. And then this is the magic right here. That third little drop-down menu has all of these cool things that you can find out about each individual post. You can find out all about the interactions, the comments, what was generated from this post, engagement, follows, impressions, profile visits, reach. So this is a really cool one, I thought, the follows. So which posts actually gained me more followers? If that's one of our big goals, our overall reaching goals, which type of posts actually did that? So I'm going to click follows. And surprisingly, not surprisingly, the underwear one is up there at the top. But I gained 5 followers from this post, 5 from this post, 5 from this one, 4 from this one, 3 from this one, 3 from this one. So whatever I was doing in these top, 6, 10 posts, it helped me to grow my following. And so I would definitely look at that. Again, I wrote notes here so I can not get all over the place. And then what you want to do is, so let's say this post, we'll just go with the underwear post because it's, I know it's got big numbers. I'm going to click on that one individually. And then underneath that individual post is view insights. Pull that up, and now you get really detailed. So now I can see exactly how many profile visits came from that particular post, what the reach was, how many actions were taken on it. There were 71 actions taken on this particular post. Discovery means, we're just telling you how many accounts you reached and then what happened with those. I got 5 followers from it. Impressions, over 2,000 impressions. And then if I go under there, this is what I was talking about is really cool, is how did people find me or find this particular post? From home, I had over 1,000. So this one was mainly because people are following me and they're looking me up. But hashtags, I had 357 people view this post strictly from hashtags. 357. I'm like, oh my gosh, what hashtags did I use? So now I would go back into the post and do a little analyzing. It's a long form post, so I'd keep that in mind, jot that down. It was very real and truthful and all about body confidence. It had tons of comments, and I would also look at these hashtags and see which hashtags that I use that are not normal, like what's not my standard, hashtags that I use, because people were finding me with this post using hashtags, and that blows my mind, like I said. So, all right, we're gonna go back to the big feed here, and I'm going to pull up profile visits. So this one I thought was really cool as well, because let's say somebody just organically came across my post. They weren't particularly like going to the Mama Crush and then, reading my feed, but it popped up in their feed. And then they actually clicked on my title, the Mama Crush, and went and looked at my profile. So again, it was the underwear one is the top. Second one was another one in my swimsuit. I think I see a theme here. And, you know, the styling one. So if I look at that, 71 people visited my profile just from that underwear post. So it really got a lot of eyes. What I think is cool about people visiting your profile or doing other things like commenting or emailing, saving, is that those are the people that you could potentially convert into someone who views your content off of Instagram, someone that may want to work with you. You know, you can convert them into a sale. That to me is a magic number. Like those people that are actually doing something and they're interested enough that they wanted to go check out my profile and see, you know, what I do, what I am, what I'm all about. So those are the people in my mind that I'm like, ooh, those are the hot leads, right? Like those are the people that I want to keep finding. So you can see when you go onto the select interaction, there's a lot of really cool things. Website clicks, you know, some of the, like when I post a YouTube video, I get a lot of people clicking on that because they wanted to go to the website. And YouTube videos are really at the top of there. When we did an event, 100% that pitch, people were clicking on that because they were wanting to find out more about the event. So kind of take note of all these things of like why people clicked, why people commented, why people looked at your profile. So those are really important. Stories, now you can do the same thing. I mean, I didn't even really go past that, but if you scroll up, stories is there. So stories, let's click on that. We're going to go to see all. And again, I think it only goes up to 14 days. Yeah, it's 24 hours, 7 days, and 14 days that you can look back at the analytics on your stories. But you can see if you hit the little drop down, the first drop down menu, you can see all of those things that we were just looking at for the individual posts. So I found this really interesting as well. Like how many people are actually going to my profile from stories? And the last 17 days or the last 17 stories I did this week, only one person went to my profile from it. But you can keep an eye on that, you know, and you can choose how often you're looking at that if you want to do it every 2 weeks and just kind of peek in and say, hey, you know, what stories are resonating with people? What stories are making people visit my profile? Follows, which I thought was really cool. No follows from my stories this week, but I guarantee you that some, you know, of these stories that I've done in the past have resulted in follows. So that I found to be really interesting as well. Now, when you click on the individual story, it doesn't give you the insights like it does on post, but that's because it's a little bit of a different ballgame there. So this, you're just more interested in like, what do these stories do besides kind of tell everyone where I am right now and what I'm doing? So that's in the content section. Moving over to activity, this is, let's see. It's pretty self-explanatory, but this is how you want to use it. So in discovery, or I'm sorry, under discovery here, it's going to tell you the number of accounts that you reached in, it's usually the past 7 days. Yeah, it's June 3rd to June 9th. So these are the number of accounts that you've reached in the past 7 days. And because I didn't post this till Tuesday, everything was dead. You probably can't see that. There's like a flat line, and then on Tuesday it pops up. So I know that on Tuesday is when I had the most reach on my account. So you can also, it'll tell you like compared to the week before, you know, how you're doing. Are you trending up? Or are you trending down? Impressions as well. Are you trending up? Or are you trending down? So I am trending down, just so you guys know. Impressions as well. This is interesting to me. They have 3,420 impressions just this week, which is surprising to me, but that sounds like a lot. And then how many actions were taken on your account in this week as well. So 66 actions were taken on my account. That's 65 profile visits, which is interesting because all I've done is post stories, and website clicks too as well. So it'll give you profile visits and website clicks. So this is just a way for you to kind of gauge like, hey, what I did this week, was it worth it, right? Was I doing the right things? Am I getting the results that I want? Am I getting people to view my profile? Am I getting people to click through and go to my website? Am I getting eyes where I want them to be? And then we want to dig deeper into the audience section. And this stuff is really important as well. So because you have an ideal customer avatar in your mind or written down somewhere for your business, and because Instagram is a huge ocean of people, you want to make sure that when you cast your net, you're casting it to the correct people. So the ideal customer avatar that you know is for your business, you know, whoever she or he is that the person that's showing up on Instagram, right? Is that the person that is viewing your content and engaging with it? So here we can look at the number of followers, locations. You know, for me, it's like hugely Jupiter, Florida. And one reason, and this is a little extra tip, is if you are not tagging your post with a location, and you can do it in stories as well, then you may want to, because I do only with the Mama Crush want to reach, not only in Jupiter, but I mean, that is definitely like the majority of my clientele is in Jupiter, Florida, you know, especially because I have a physical business. So someone like Shannon, who has a physical store, she's not necessarily, well, let's not count her online store, but let's count the physical store, like the brick and mortar. She's not necessarily looking for customers from Orlando, right? So she's not going to be tagging that she's in Orlando. She's going to tag Jupiter, Florida, or North Palm Beach, Florida. And when you tag where you are in your post, it doesn't have to be your house. Like that can be a lot like fearful for some people. Like, I don't want people like knowing exactly where I am. There is a really successful business coach in town. And every time I see her post, I know she lives in Jupiter. I know all of her content comes from Jupiter, but she'll put Orlando, Florida. She'll put, you know, as long as you can't tell, like in my room, you can't tell exactly where I am. She'll put, you know, Miami, Florida, because she is looking to grow her audience into other locations. And doing that tells Instagram like, hey, people in Miami might want to see this. People, you know, her ideal audience in Miami might want to see this. People in Orlando might want to see this. So you're kind of trying to beat the algorithm a little bit with when you put a location on your post. So just keep that in mind when you're creating your post. If you've been someone who has been like you're worried about like people knowing exactly where you are or what you're doing or that sort of thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be that, right? It's not like, oh, here's my address or here's where I'm from. But you know, keep that in mind, because I would like to grow our business casual to greater Palm Beach County instead of just Jupiter. And so I'm going to start tagging in my photos or, you know, in the location, some of the other spots around, you know, the areas that I want to reach out to. So just keep that in mind. Age range. So I would say that my target is, you know, anywhere from like 35 to 45. And that is generally who is, you know, majority of who is looking at my content. However, the second biggest is 25 to 34. And so I just want to make sure first of all, is it okay, right, with me? I mean, if it popped up that I was only hitting 13 to 17-year-olds, I'd be like, whoo, I must be doing the wrong kind of content, right? So you can use those numbers to kind of analyze, am I reaching the right people? And if I am not, how can I change up my content or change up my images so that I am reaching the right type of people? If I was targeting a younger audience, let's say I sold something, you know, t-shirts or something that were for young people, young people, I sound like such an old person. If they were for young people or millennials, let's say, then I want to change my content up to be, you know, more fun, more entertaining, you know, it's something more in line with what they're viewing. But because I am really targeting women in my age range, in my area, then I'm going to keep those type of posts going, right? I'm going to keep the type of images that I am currently doing. I'm going to keep recreating that type of imagery because it is reaching the right person, right? It's reaching the correct person. 88% women. The 12% men, that's probably like the men in my family that, you know, check in on me to see what's going on. But really this 88% women, that's perfect for me. That's exactly who I want to be talking to. If I'm talking to men, then about personal styling for women, then it's really not the right people. So the last thing on there is time. And this is important because like I said, I realized like, whoa, wow, I really get a nice boost in the afternoons. And you can go days, like to see which days are getting the most action, and then also which hours. So you can toggle back and forth between those two. So, and that's not by date range. That's Instagram just telling you overall, here's what's happening on your account and here's what time and days they are. So let me go in here, see what other notes that I have. Okay. So I think I've kind of covered what I wanted to cover, but I wanted to ask you guys, because this is all because you guys have been asking me, is this the type of content, or is this the type of information you were looking for? What else can I answer? What else can I research for you? Speak up now if you need to.
I have a question.
Yes.
You mentioned about when you post your YouTube video. Are you literally posting the video from YouTube
for half a mile?
Are you posting YouTube to Instagram or?
I'm not. So what I'm doing is when I have a YouTube video, I am just using the YouTube cover, you know, like the little card or the cover card. And I'm posting it and saying like, hey, I have a new YouTube video up. Go click the link in my bio. And then I'm putting that link in my bio. So they're probably, I don't know if there's a way to actually link an actual YouTube video. That would probably be for somebody else to tell me. I wouldn't think so because Instagram doesn't really want you to click to YouTube, but you do get that one link in your bio, and that's where I'm putting it. So, you know, I could also do a call to action like, hey, go subscribe to my YouTube channel, you know, or something along those lines. So, but yeah, that's the main one. So what else can I answer? I don't know, was this helpful at all, or is this stuff you guys already knew, or? Like, I want to make sure I'm giving you the right content because over the next few weeks, I want to hit all the different platforms. So I definitely want to make sure that you're getting value out of this information.
Yeah, I didn't know there was the option to view all those different types of insights.
Yeah, and I mean, I knew they were there, but I wasn't using them. I did not realize how in-depth you can get on your stories, which I thought was really cool because, like we said, stories are kind of where it's at, right? Stories are where people are really paying attention. So you can go in and look, and unfortunately it's only for it only goes up to the last 14 days. But if you, for the next 2 weeks, do stories like you normally do, or if you've been actively doing stories for the last 2 weeks, go in there and look and see like what's happening with your stories. I mean, are you just doing all of that? Stories take work just like posts do, you know, it takes time. Are you doing all that work and is anything happening from them? And if it's not, what could I do to make it happen, right? What could I do to get people to go visit my profile? What could I do to make people follow me? Many of us, I mean, there's a few of us here that have over 10,000 followers, but many of us do not, you know, we're in like that micro, you know, number. I mean, I'm only at like 1,600 followers or something. But when I was doing all this research, I was reading stuff about, you know, how to use the analytics, how to read them, how to apply them. But I'm also noticing a trend, like if you want to grow your following, if that's something that's important to you, I don't necessarily need to grow my following that much more. What I really need to do is get the people that are engaging and following to then convert into a client, right? That's my end goal. I don't necessarily need 10,000. Would it be nice? Heck yeah, it'd be great. I mean, that'd be fantastic. But if you're doing all of these other things and really focusing on who is looking now and making sure that is the right person, then the growth overall will kind of organically follow you, right? Will kind of naturally happen. So if your goal though, you know, if you're working with brands and stuff and you need more engagement and more followers, like more likes and more followers, then that's a little different. You're looking at it from a little bit of a different angle. I want people to click on my profile and to either DM me or go to my website or, you know, or try to find out more about me. So that's where I want to take those people. With business casual, I want people to, we don't have our website up yet, but we will soon. You know, eventually I will want people to go on there. Right now, I just want them to DM me and to get more information about us, right? We always want to get more members in. We want to get more people engaged with what we're doing. So that's our goal. Like that's my goal. Yes, I want to grow the following, but really if I focus on who's looking now. So we have 500 something followers on Instagram on business casual. When I post, we usually get some pretty good interaction and such. I don't have business analytics yet on there, but I will. But we don't have 500 members, right? We have 40 plus members. To me, that 460 other people that are looking at our content are hot leads and warm leads. So if I focus on them and give them the type of content, imagery, voice that has been working and got you guys to join in, you know, and find out about us, then maybe we can grow it even more that way with the current audience that we already have. And I think naturally a following will happen. So our growth and following will happen. So
I have another question about like when it shows when something's viewed, specifically like videos. I know when you scroll through, usually it just starts to play the video. So does it count those when people are just scrolling through and it starts a video, or is it somebody?
I think it does. I mean, I'm not an expert on that, but I think it does because it does break down. You can go inside the impressions, and maybe someone else can answer this too, but it does inside of those, like that drop down menu, you can actually break it down by I'm sorry, in the post, you can actually break it down by static, like a picture or a video or that sort of thing. I think you can dive a little deeper into it. And that's a great thing to look at with video, right? We talk about video being king, like video is, where it's at all the time. That's why stories work so well and such. And are those videos posts getting more engagement than your static posts, right? Are they getting more views? Are they getting the right audience? That sort of thing. So it's also something to look at as well. Yeah. Noelle, I know you are a social media master. Do you have anything to add to this?
I mean, I actually am in the process of working on an Instagram course. Sorry, I had groceries delivered in the middle of that, so I was trying to put them away. But I actually just did like a full PDF on all things insights. So I'll be part of the course, but if someone wants it, you can just email me or DM me and I can send it to you. But basically just kind of is more like how to find it or, and that's only for Instagram also, by the way. But in terms of, I didn't hear the last question. I think it was about video views. Is that right, Jen?
She was just curious if video, like when it shows you the impressions or reach, is it when people like actually sit there and watch the video, or as they're scrolling through, how video automatically starts, like does that count as one of those impressions or reach? Yeah, I think it does too. Because it's the same thing, like if there's a static post, like a picture, and they scroll through, that counts. It doesn't matter how long they're sitting on it, right? Like as long as they've seen it, that's an impression. And so I would think the same thing with the video as well.
Well, that's why the longer Instagram wants you to like spend more time on the post. So that's why you'll see a lot of people do like the carousels. That's why carousels are bigger, because it's encouraging you to spend more time. That's then letting Instagram know, oh, okay, that person's content, people really like it. They're spending time like reading it, and
that's
then
really good to know. Yeah,
that all goes towards their fancy algorithm that we all speculate on.
Right. That is I really like that tip. So if you guys got that, things like the carousel, when you put multiple pictures in and people have to like flip through the actual thing, it actually makes them stop. I know it does for me. If I see a post of a friend's and it has the little dots on the bottom, I'm going to spend more time on that post than I would normally. I'm going to like flip through it. Right. So that's a really good tip.
Or I think a lot of, if you do blogs and stuff now, I know I've seen it in like the Instagram engagement I'm doing, and a lot of my clients are doing it where they'll do like a blog post and then they'll actually like say it's like 5 ways to, I don't know, I'm just trying to like blinking, like 5 engagement tips, Instagram engagement tips, and they'll do like a slide for each one. So it's like you're putting it in the copy, then you're putting it in the slide. You're just like, it's so much repurpose of content is going on right now, which is awesome because we're not reinventing a lot, but there's just so many ways that you can repurpose it, even just creating a new graphic.
That's very good to know. Very cool. I'll start using those.
I have a question for you guys.
More. Yeah.
So how do you guys feel about, or does anyone know if you do the hashtags in the comments versus, or if you create like your own engagement, what's her name over at Collab & Co, Missy does this a lot, where she'll comment on her own post and add then the hashtags in a reply to that comment. And does anyone know if there's any data behind that at all?
I don't know if there's any data, Holly, but I've heard obviously like different, because everyone has an opinion on this, like all the gurus have different opinions on it. I don't think it matters where the hashtags are. And I do know that Instagram knows if it's you yourself commenting on, on the post. The benefit of it is that it's the follower effect. Like if you put a comment down, people are more likely to also comment because they see like interaction has already started. I took this YouTube course once and they said that you should always comment and like your own videos. And I'm like, what? But it's because of that Pied Piper thinking, right? If people see that, even if it's you, but somebody has already started interacting on that post, then it encourages them to. So you're not necessarily commenting to up your engagement by number, but you're hoping that it leads to more engagement because of the Pied Piper effect. Like people just like knowing, like they don't want to break the ice, right? They don't want to be the first person to comment. And so if you've done that, then that's great. I have heard that hashtag, it doesn't really matter where it is if it's in your post or your comments, because Instagram just knows, those hashtags are attached to that particular post, but there's differing views coming from everywhere. So sorry, the shorter answer is no, I don't have any data on it.
I don't know if it matters where you have hashtags either, but I do exactly what you said. I have it in the first comment, and I do it personally just for the aesthetic of my feed. So all the hashtags aren't in my caption.
That makes sense.
It's
Yeah,
easier to edit them, I guess, when you're in the caption, but I don't know, I just was wondering about that. Like if anyone sees anything about that, I feel like things change obviously rapid speed, but that's something I'm super interested in. My team has gone back and forth with it and our engagement has been the same, but I also don't know if our hashtags are as optimized as they could be. By the way, Leanne, some feedback for you. Like I freaking love this because I feel like even if you break it down to like the most basic thing, I feel like it's like if you're thinking like, oh, well, this is kind of no duh, it's not. Like, it's like so confidence building hearing you say even like most basic things. Cause I'm like, yeah, we're doing that. Cool. Like, we're doing it. It's awesome.
Well, thank you for the feedback, Holly. That's good. I know sometimes when I come up with these outlines to talk to you guys about, I'm like, I already know this stuff. But then I'm like, well, you know what? There's some people in our group that are just starting out. They may not know, or it's a good refresher. So, I mean, it's a good refresher for me. Like I said, hashtags, of course, I know all about hashtags. I know why they're important. I know how to research them and how to do them. But was I really using them in my analytics or looking at my analytics to see which ones are working? No. I was doing it. It's kind of like throwing it out there and just hoping something takes, right? But was I actually going in and looking and seeing like, okay, this particular post, 90% of the, views came from hashtags. Like, that's insane. Which hashtags was I using, and let me use them again, right? And let me make that same kind of post. So truthfully, you guys are going to start seeing me show up in my underwear basically every week on Instagram. But
that was another one of my questions too. Sorry, I'll curb it after this. But by using the same hashtags, like if you should use the same block of hashtags to, I guess, show up in people's feeds that are following that, like farming that individual tag, or if it's better to shake it up and use, like, obviously you want to use ones that are relevant to the picture, but then like consistently, like we have a bunch of home and realtor things that we use. Like we have like 10 of them that we use over and over and over again. And it's so hard to find information about what is real because of course every blogger loves to blog about this topic specifically.
Yeah.
Does anyone know if like
same
hashtags
thing,
like
there's just it depends on who you're listening to, right? And what they think. I've heard it all, like you're saying, like I've heard use the same ones, don't use the same ones over and over, always mix them up, only use 2 or 3 hashtags, use 30, the full 30, I think Noelle may have a little more insight into this because she's talked about using hashtags on her own posts that I follow. So Noelle, do you have any insight about that, about the hashtags?
I can just say this. I think it's about trial and error because everyone's target audience as to why they're following you is different and the way they react to information is going to be different. I manage probably at least 10 different Instagram accounts. There are some accounts that they have like a lower package with me, so we're not changing the hashtags drastically each time, and their engagement skyrockets from time to time. And then I know for my own, like I do a lot of testing on mine individually. I've done all 30, I've done just 10, I've done just 5. I haven't seen a drastic difference in one way or another. I think the big thing that's been a drastic changer in my personal one is just engaging and changing them and mixing them up. I see greater reach and impressions when I'm like super, super specific. So for instance, I just like used like a random picture that I had like styled my nightstand because that's what quarantine has come to. We're like taking pictures of us styling different areas of our house. And I use like super specific hashtags for that. So like Holly, you could probably use a lot of like home related ones being in real estate. So it was like nightstand decor, nightstand styling. Like I use like 5 super like very specific to what my picture was. Now, mind you, my copy was different. So I also included like what was pertaining to my copy, and my reach on that was like far greater because I was using so specific to the picture, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah.
That is
That's
great
really
to
good
know.
It's so hard to test this stuff because at the end of the day when you're testing it, you're also putting it out in the public. So it's like a cool test, but I can see you.
That's true.
There's a lot of home ones always do like really, really well. That's actually part of the reason why I sprinkle like pictures of my house into my feed without me in them, is because using home like hashtags like has
do very well.
Reach. They just do really, really well. Anytime I post a picture of my kitchen and I use white cabinets,
Oh, Oh, that's
That's
interesting.
what I noticed when you were asking which posts get most, and I wrote down interior design. Any picture that has something to do with like my office or anything like that, those had like the highest
No
engagement.
kidding. I wonder if our stats must be just then. And that's interesting. I did not know that. Huh.
So now my feed is going to be me in my bikini in my kitchen, and I will be tagging hashtag bikini in the kitchen. And you guys can follow.
Hey girls, I have all the stock footage. If you ever need any pictures of anything, I got you.
That's right.
Noelle, I don't know.
She'll Photoshop herself in all your stock photos, Holly. Everyone's
Noelle,
like, Leanne, is that your house? You're like, of course it is.
Yeah, exactly. I will say to you guys that Holly is my realtor, and she is killing it buying and selling, where she's, handling all of this. And then she took pictures of my home, and you guys can see it. I think it's on Zillow or something, but pictures of my home, and my kids, when they saw the flyer, were like, "Ooh, whose house is this?" Like, the pictures are amazing, and really it made me want to, like, oh, I just want to stay here. Like, it's amazing. So yeah, that's just a little plug for Holly and her team, because they're doing a fantastic job.
Your house is amazing. Thank you.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just awkwardly thanking you.
Oh, yeah. No worries.
I was going to say also, and Noelle, I feel like you would have more information on this as well, but I've played around with looking at hashtags that are not like, because you know how you can see how many of that hashtag has been used, like if it's like in the millions or whatever. So trying to find like the mid-level to lower, more specific hashtags as well, because if you're using a hashtag that has like 3 million, like hashtag love or something like that, then you're getting lost in that main feed. Like if somebody were actually going to tap on the love hashtag, you would be like already hundreds down by the time like you even go and check on it. So I think it's important to sort of find niche specific, and then also just like number specific, like trying to find like a lower number, and not anything that's too low, obviously, because then that means that people aren't using it at all, but just something in between. I think that helps too, testing those out. That's
a really great tip. And that also is really good when you're, kind of trying to figure out which hashtags to use, and you're looking up the niche ones. Like Diana said, like some niches can be way too small, like, bikini in the kitchen is probably way too small to use, but this I found really interesting too, because when I was doing this research. So, we talked about Pinterest so much the last 2 weeks, and we didn't even really we didn't get too deep into using hashtags on Pinterest. It's something that, they're really, you can use hashtags in your like description on Pinterest. But the difference between using them on Pinterest and using them on like Instagram, we are used to on Instagram, we're trying to niche down and find that perfect audience member, right? We're trying to like niche down and find that sweet spot that Diana's talking about, like between, this number and this number. We don't want the million views, but we also don't want the like 500, we want somewhere in wherever you think your sweet spot is. So we niche down on there. On Pinterest, because our audience, for most of us, our audience is already living there, you want to keep the hashtags really broad. So if I were to do a pin about my nightstand, the hashtag in there wouldn't necessarily be like decorated nightstand. It would be interior design, or something broader, right? Or I don't know another word. I'm like losing my train of thought there. But so in Pinterest, we keep it broad because they don't use hashtags necessarily the same way. It's almost just like a keyword, and so that they can find you in the topic. With Instagram, we're niching down so that we can find the particular audience member. Does that make sense? Am I making sense there?
Yeah.
So
what happened one time for me, Holly, this might be a good tip for you, is I took a picture, and in the picture happened to be my TV, and my TV was on Cashpad, the show. Have you seen that show? So I hashtagged. So it's the girl that used to be on The Bachelorette or whatever.
Oh God, that's smart.
Cashpad,
So you get their like cult following. That's
so
smart.
They go in, and anyways, they make Airbnbs and whatever, but it's interior design and stuff. So I hashtagged them because it was relevant. They were in the picture. And so if you have a TV on and there's a show on that's relevant and you hashtag it, I got more. That one had my highest engagements.
That's so smart.
So that's like that hijacking you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was relevant. I wasn't just like hashtagging.
Yeah, as long as it goes with your, right, like your directive, right? It's something that you were talking about anyway. It's not like, oh, I'm putting a post up there about finances, oh, hashtag Dole pineapple juice. You know what I mean? Like it's like, it has to do with your content and what you're posting about, then that makes sense. Because that is, people that are watching that show are maybe the same audience that you are wanting them to follow you as well, or to talk to as well.
Like
so,
specifically those that are selling houses and
right,
remodeling and stuff
exactly.
like that.
So if you were to hashtag because there was a glass of pineapple juice on the counter, that's not necessarily who you're targeting, right? It's people that like Dole pineapple juice, not necessarily who you're targeting. So think about that as well when you're using these hashtags. And basically what you did is tag them, you know, you tagged that company. And that's a whole nother thing that we could talk about, but we're running out of time, so we won't. So yeah, look, I made it go an hour again. Man, I cannot bring this thing down to 40 minutes. Like my goal is 30 to 40 minutes and I cannot bring it down. I'm going to wrap it up here, ladies. We are going to keep talking analytics over the next few weeks. I'm going to try and gather as much intel as I can for all of the different platforms. And we will probably end with a bang on the big one on Google and talk about that. So when we get towards the end of this, but Analyze This. We started with Instagram. I'll put this all in the notes. I put it on the email this morning, and it really isn't relevant to you guys because you're here today, but I'm not doing a meeting tomorrow night. We just have about a gazillion things going on. Next week, I'll be back to 2 meetings a week. So don't worry. Like if you like to come on Thursday night, I'll be back there next week on Thursday. So I'll probably put it in stories today just to let anyone else know if they didn't see the email, but no meeting tomorrow night. That's it for today, ladies. Thank you so much. If you guys have any tips you want to add to this or anything you find out, please DM me, message me. You can text me, anything, and I'll add it to our notes. So thank you so much. Noelle, Diana, Holly, thank you guys for the input. I appreciate it so much. See you soon. Bye. Bye.